This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Good morning, or afternoon, whenever the heck you're listening to this thing. This is Done Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, FWHlegal.com at 530 Frederica Street, the high-rise white brick edifice. It's a beautiful sunny Friday morning overlooking the big town of Owensboro. PJ, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
You know, I'm proud of Kentucky. I am proud of our state. We were the first state to declare that there was enough votes counted and just got it over and said, you know, Trump won our state. Now,
right.
I'm not saying I'm glad or not glad that Trump won. We're going to try to keep this,
right,
you know, between the rails today.
Gotcha.
But I'm proud of Kentucky. We were the first state just to say, hey, you know, votes are counted and here it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wish other states.
Fast.
Don't you wish the other states could do the same?
You would think in this day and age it would be very quick. I saw a meme that I thought was pretty accurate, which it said American Idol can count 6 million phone-in ballots during a commercial break,
right.
And certain states can't even get ballots counted in a amount of days. So yeah. I thought that was pretty funny, but also very true.
Right. Well, lots of things we could talk about today. We're in the middle of an election crisis, I guess I would call it. We are in the middle of the highest COVID numbers we've ever seen.
Yeah, I saw where we're back in the red.
Oh yeah, we're in the red, and I see no break. As we've discussed, my wife works as a supervising nurse at a COVID testing center.
Right. And
just today, they are expecting to administer 270 tests.
Holy crap.
So, you know, it's just I don't see any end in sight. It's kind of that spike that you and I said we were afraid was going to happen in the fall. I mean, that's the only thing I think we've been accurate in our predictions on, was that it really did happen.
Well, I heard, I was listening to 97X yesterday, and it was after work, and they said that I guess the numbers were up, like in our area, it was around 5,000 active cases, people who actively had the virus, and only 4,000 recoveries or something along those lines. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of, you can bend these numbers any way you want, but the one thing that is that they cannot refute is that there are just almost exponential growth in the number of new cases.
Right.
Now we are, the testing units are becoming more and more available. So the more we test, the more we're going to find, right? Which is good. I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, people go, well, the only reason we're seeing more is because we're testing. Well, great. Let's test everybody, every day. Except for you. I don't want to put you through that. But, But anyway, so we've got an election crisis going on. We have COVID going on. But just real quick, this is a big weekend for you, right? I mean, is this? No, it's next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah.
Next weekend. So, this weekend you're making final preparations for next weekend.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know what I'm talking about or referring to, PJ's, hobby / hobby.
I call it a professional hobby.
Professional hobby.
Since the chances of making money are there, but I don't do it for a living.
That's a good way to phrase it. But you have a movie that you're doing a release of, right? 13 Sleighs Till Christmas.
Yep.
Right?
Correct.
And you were yesterday, I guess you and I spent probably about 20 minutes, and you kind of were educating me on the whole process there.
Yeah.
But for those, are there still seats available for the?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're next weekend on Friday the 13th. We're having we're calling it the pandemic premiere.
Right.
Of course, we're adhering to all the guidelines. There's a mask mandate, and there's going to be family groups can sit together, couples can sit together. Any individually sold tickets, they'll have to sit alone. However, everyone will be 6 feet apart. So we're having to keep, we have restrictions and whatnot, and just want to keep everybody safe.
Well, so let's give people the details just in case this is where they hear it for the first time, so they know. So, first of all, it's easy to find. Centrally located in Frederica. It's going to be right at the church that Kentucky Wesleyan bought. Right?
Yeah, it's
right
their
there
new activities center.
It's on Frederica Street. Across the street from Great Harvest Bakery, is that right?
Yeah, it's 3300 Frederica Street.
Oh, that's
the
easy.
address.
That's easy to remember.
Yeah, it's the old Legacy Church.
Right, 3300. And now, if a person wants to purchase tickets they're $13 a piece. Is that right?
Yeah, they're $13.
That's good for Friday the 13th.
Right, and 13 Slays Till Christmas.
13 Slays Till Christmas. Okay, good. Well, you're doing all you can to make it marketable.
Right,
and that's wise. So we have. Where would I go? Like right now, how could I just go order a ticket? Walk me through it, because I'm going to do it right here on my phone and just see how easy it is.
Okay, so you can go to bloodmoonpictures.com.
Okay, Blood Moon. Okay, that's an interesting name.
That's our production company.
Blood Moon. Okay.
All right.
I'm there.
Now, I haven't done this through my phone. I've only done this on a desktop. On your phone, there's probably, I would say, those lines where it's like a drop-down box.
Menu. Got it.
Yeah. In the menu, it'll say tickets.
Tickets.
Click tickets. It'll take you to a page that gives you just kind of a brief description, and then there's click here to order tickets.
Oh, that was easy. That was literally typing in bloodmoonpictures.com.
Yep. And
then I went to the menu and hit tickets, and from there it's the first thing that popped up on mine. It's a great graphic here, and it's real simple. Click here to order tickets.
Yep.
Is this also on your personal Facebook page, or is there other places that people can get the link to Blood Moon Pictures?
Yeah, it's on social media. We've been pushing links to the actual, because we did it through a site called Ticket something. I'll be honest, I don't remember the name. But yeah, the links are out there, and because of there is limited capacity seating, and because of that, we've had to cap each showing, and instead of doing one big showing, we're doing a series of 5 showings.
Okay. That
way, everybody has an opportunity to come, and we do understand that under the circumstances, some people may not feel comfortable coming to an event. Now, of course, if you do, you won't be sitting directly next to some stranger.
Right.
And like I said, everybody's required to wear a mask to enter and be seated.
And this place is set up to where it can accommodate that spacing.
Yeah.
There's a balcony, actually, where there's some balcony seating to kind of add to the movie-like experience, right?
It's a really nice facility. We went and looked at it. We've been there twice. I didn't know what to expect when I went in.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was probably like something smaller, because we also have an extra backup screen in case they didn't have an existing screen to use. But when we went in there, I mean, it's 50-foot vaulted ceilings, and I mean, it was a church. So yeah, it's got plenty of seating and plenty of space, and
good.
It's handicap accessible in case anybody is, there's plenty of room if someone's in a wheelchair or something like that. So.
All right, so this is you're showing then on Friday the 13th of November.
Yep.
And then Saturday the 14th of November.
Right.
And so there's a total of 5 opportunities for someone to come see the premiere of You're in the Movie.
Right. Yeah, there's a 7 p.m. on Friday the 13th.
Right.
And then a 9:30 p.m. And then on Saturday there's a 4:30 p.m., a 7 p.m., and a 9:30 p.m.
Okay. Last question. Let's say that somebody just does not feel safe about, even though you're taking all the steps and protocols, but they want to see your movie. When can they purchase it?
Those are some of the details we're working out now. Originally, we were planning on releasing it in December, but it's looking more like what's going to happen is we're going to be doing a pre-order throughout December, and then the movie will release either beginning or middle of January. So we'll start off right out of the gate with a physical release, which will be Blu-ray. It's going to be through Scream Team Releasing. Their website, screamteamreleasing.com. And then, of course, we'll have links on our website, on our social media, our personal Facebook pages and things. But yeah, so if you're wanting a physical copy of the movie, that's how you'll be able to get it right away. And then we'll follow up with a VOD release, the video on demand, so it'll be on different streaming platforms.
Okay. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yesterday, I'm not a horror movie guy. We've talked about that, but you piqued my curiosity to where I don't think I'm going to go over to the church over to watch it, but I probably am going to purchase one just to have, because I think that would be cool. And in the story, the way you told me, I think it's going to be it'd be interesting. So
I came up with the concept about 4 years ago, and we pulled it off the shelf last August. And the movie was supposed to have already been done, but then we were days away from filming here because four of the 13 sequences in the movie were filmed here in Owensboro. And literally 2 days before we were supposed to begin filming on the first sequence is when the shutdowns happened with the pandemic.
Right.
So a majority of this movie was filmed during the pandemic. COVID. Of course, yeah, we had really strict guidelines and things when we started back up in June. It was June or July when we started back up, and probably been one of the most challenging projects I've done yet. However, it's not pandemic related at all. We didn't want to incorporate anything because people want to get away from the pandemic. You see it everywhere.
Sure. To
look at it, unless you're looking for it, you would probably not notice that it was filmed during the pandemic. It doesn't look like it was filmed during the pandemic.
That reminds me. Last night I was watching a horrible football game. It was the 49ers and the Green Bay Packers, and I'm the kind of guy that, if there's sports of any nature on TV, that'll be what I watch. I won't watch a show. I won't watch the news. I'll just watch sports. And sometimes that has me watching like the professional bowlers tour or something,
Right.
So, but last night I was watching the football game, and it went to a commercial. And the first commercial was an AT&T commercial. Now they're getting ready for their big push for Christmas. The new iPhone 12 and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but maybe over this weekend, if you're watching any live TV, or I guess network TV, I should say.
Yeah.
If you're watching that, look at the bottom of the new commercials that are coming out. And this one said, no actors were placed in a position to harm themselves or potentially transmit COVID-19. I mean, there's a disclaimer at the bottom.
Right.
Saying we did not put any of these people, that this was, I think it was maybe this was recorded or filmed in an environment safe that met all protocols of COVID-19, something along. I mean, it just flips on there for a second, and I didn't catch all, but I saw that it was a disclaimer.
Yeah.
Specifically, the old one that used to say no animals were harmed in the making of this. It reminded me of that.
We actually have that in.
Right. Okay. So in this one, it was no actor was placed in a position of harm for the recording of this because of COVID-19, which I was like, But if you would have seen that a year ago at the bottom of a commercial, what in the world? Right. But now it's like, okay, yeah. So it's just an evolution that we are living this huge change in culture. And this isn't I was going to actually go a different way today, and this happens to me all the time, but that commercial had caught my eye.
Well, that's one thing that I've noticed. It has fully permeated every aspect, like you said, of our culture, and especially in the entertainment side. I've seen so many commercials now that have just adapted what they're doing to incorporate the fact that there's a pandemic going on. And what's interesting is it's a double-edged sword, because some people want to watch entertainment to get away from what's happening. I know, like my wife Trina, she's a huge fan of This Is Us, and it's a great show, but I got to a point where I had to stop watching it because I didn't want to cry every week. I got tired of crying, so I had to stop the tears. The new season just came on, and they have embraced the pandemic and incorporated it into their storyline, so it's ongoing.
And it's going to happen.
Right, and she was complaining about it the other night. She's like, God, I love this show, and I watch these television shows to get away from reality sometimes, and now I'm watching this show that I love, and it's just reminding me of everything that's going on.
I had asked a question a while back, and I'd like to start asking it again, but about whether or not have you had a dream yet where people are wearing face coverings and masks.
Right.
And I still haven't. In all my dreams, I'm seeing the full face of, my family or my friends or unknown characters who show up in my dreams. Not that I'm not being silly here, but you
Right.
dream
Yeah,
and there's
yeah,
people
yeah.
in your dreams. You're like, were they in my dream? I don't know them.
Yeah.
But still to this day, so far for me, no masks. How about you? Do you
No.
dream, first of all?
I do. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you bring up dreams. I haven't had any dreams that have people been wearing masks. However, I had a nightmare the other night that was, and I usually don't. Never have nightmares, and if I do, they're mild. But I had a nightmare the other night that was so vivid it woke me up, and I thought I was going to have a heart attack. You know when you're in a dream and you know where you're at and you know where you're going, but it's in reality, it's a location you've never seen before or ever been to in your entire life.
Yeah, it's like, where did that come from? Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm running down this hallway because I need to get somewhere, and I don't know. I don't remember where I was going, but I just remember like thinking, I got to get there fast. And it wasn't a scary dream or anything. I just had to go somewhere. And I turn this corner and I'm running full speed. And as soon as I turn this corner, it's like a dark hallway, and maybe like 10 feet in front of me is a ghost. Is just like a cliche, what you always expect to see, kind of a ghost. And it was a woman in one of those old nursing uniforms, where it's like the hat looks like a cloak kind of, and it almost looks like maybe something they would have in like a religious hospital or something, but it was one of those, and she was transparent, and it was just so as soon as I turn the corner and I'm running full speed, I'm running towards this, and it hits me that there's a ghost right there, and I wasn't expecting it, and it scared the out of me, and I woke up. Every sense in my body was just
numbed.
Yeah. And I mean, I was freaking out. And as soon as I was awake, I remember telling myself like, oh, it was just a dream. Just, you're fine. But I mean, my heart was pounding out of my chest.
I hate those kinds of dreams.
It was the most intense nightmare experience I've probably ever had. And it was very quick, but it was just so realistic and sudden that it just caught me off guard. I don't know where it came from, but yeah, I thought I was gonna like die when I woke up.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're still with us. But yeah, all right, real fast before we conclude today. Yesterday was a crazy day around here.
It was.
I mean, we had a lot of people in the office. We had a mediation. Someday I will be able to tell the story about the case that I was here on, that was being mediated here at the office yesterday.
Right.
Can't tell it yet. Way too soon. This one had the most interesting set of facts in my 25 years of practicing law that I've been a part of, and it had a number of potential pitfalls and things like that.
Right.
And so everybody was a little stressed walking into it. It was a mediation that we felt like there was probably not a good chance of getting resolved. Good news is it did.
That's good.
However, one of the things that hit me, all of the attorneys that were here, or most of the attorneys that were here, I won't say all, but most of the attorneys that were here that. Yeah, during certain spells of the mediation, and then after the mediation, when the clients had left, we stood around and talked. And one of the things I realized is that there's exceptions to this, what I'm about ready to say, is that one of the things that people don't understand is about the camaraderie and the mutual respect between attorneys in what we're doing.
Yeah.
And yesterday afternoon, well, it was last night. It was after closing time.
Yeah.
We were out in the hallway, and it was a couple of the attorneys on the other side of the case. It was the mediator, and then it was the attorneys. We had 4 attorneys working on this case, 3 from our firm and 1 from another firm. We all 4 were involved in it. But we were out in the hallway, and we were discussing our genuine concerns, like what concerned us about our case, and it was interesting for me to hear them say what concerned them, some of which we had not put a whole lot of weight on, and then we were talking about things that concerned us, and we were laughing and having some just lighthearted humor and telling some stories about other cases and things. And I realized that that number one is that's a side of lawyers that very few people get to see. What it kind of reminded me of is how football players or boxers can can fight and physically put themselves in an antagonistic setting for a certain amount of time, whatever the length of a game is or the length of a boxing match,
Yeah.
And then afterwards they talk and share stories, But the same is often true with lawyers. Now there are some that, personality conflicts or that you don't. You just don't have.
There's
that
always exceptions
relationship
to the
with.
rule.
But one of the enjoyable things about practicing law for me is that developing those relationships with guys and having the opportunity to kind of swap war stories. There was a story told in the hallway, and since I was not involved in the case and don't know people, I thought this is something I got to share. But what happened was it was a trial in a rural county. And Bart Darrell of our office was representing the defendant in a car wreck case. Okay, so in other words, it was the other side of the case that we're normally on. So
Right.
He was representing the defendant in a car wreck case, who was a big old country boy, and pretty stout and physical labor. Had played football in their town, and this guy was big. Well, during the course of trial, the trial went really well for Bart's client, okay? But during the course of trial, the attorney for the plaintiff, who Bart liked, called this did call Bart's client a liar. Bart's client was like, "What did he say? What did he say?" Like that. And Bart was like, "Look, hey, calm down. It's going to be okay." Then, as I understand the story, the trial went on through, and he was like, Bart was like, don't do it. Bart was trying to calm him, don't do anything stupid. This trial's going good for you. Don't do anything. And the guy kind of begrudgingly listened to Bart's advice. Okay.
Right.
So when the trial was over, and sure enough, there was a verdict in Bart's favor. They were in the courtroom still picking things up, and the guy comes over, the attorney for the plaintiff, who had just lost a case, comes over, and this guy that Bart represented looked at him, and he said, "You called me a liar." And Bart was like, "Oh no, oh no," And the guy, he goes, "You called me a liar," and the attorney was like, "Yeah, I know." And he goes, "We all got a job to do." And Bart's client said, "You're right. We do have a job to do, and I'm about to do mine," and took after this attorney. Like, you had a job to do, and now I've got a job to do. And they got them separated, and nothing bad happened.
No.
But Bart, but I share that story. So those are the kind of stories that, we can all like. We've all had that client that is like a powder keg,
Right.
We've all had that client that we've all made statements to clients, and then statements about other parties, and then been worried that we see them out in the parking lot. It's like,
Right.
So it was those kinds of things we were sharing, and I went home and told Missy, I was like, I genuinely love the practice of law, and there's a lot of things about it I love. I love my clients. I love getting involved in their story. I like being able to help them. I like being a part of a staff where I can feel like in some way, bring you along to a place that you've always wanted to be professionally, that people challenge me to do things that I never thought I'd do, like running the business, like doing marketing stuff, doing things like podcasts.
Right.
There's so many elements of it. And if I step back, there's times I'm like, why did I pick this profession? But 95% of the time, I am in love with my profession, and that's a good thing. It is a good thing to be able to sit back and say, those moments out in the hallways after you have been on a day of pulling your hair out, and that kind of thing. So there's one of bringing, like we often do with the podcast, bring them back to, something legal related.
Right.
And I felt like it would be important, because it just happened yesterday, for me to be transparent about that to our listeners, to the people that listen to the podcast, to see a side of me or see a side of the practice or hear about it that they don't think about.
Well, I can remember when one of the first road trips that you and I had taken when we were going out to do some photographs. That was, I had a ton of questions I was asking you, and one of the questions I had was, do attorneys get along? Because you guys are on opposite sides. And like you said, have a job to do. You have a goal you're trying to achieve. And that was one of the questions I remember having was, do you guys get along, or is it still tense when you're not either in the courtroom or in a mediation or whatever? And you'd explain the same thing to me that it's when it's business, but outside of that, you guys can still get along. And as with anything, that should be how it goes.
It should, and that's what I'm getting
in any profession.
That's what I'm getting back to is, we're going to see possibly a transition of power in our country.
Right.
And I can't remember which president it was. I think it was when George Bush was leaving and Obama was coming in. I think that was where it was. But he wrote a handwritten letter to Obama. Now, those two were on the opposite side of the aisle. You know, it's a Republican and a Democrat. But he wrote this letter to Barack Obama, and he was like, there is no responsibility like the one that you're about to undertake, and that there is no way to walk this walk without faith in God. There is no way to do this without surrounding yourself with people with various backgrounds. There's no, and at the end it says, "Go in God's grace," or something. Very, very, very accommodating.
Right.
And that's this, PJ. That I'm worried that's the side of America that we're losing. I'm afraid that so many people are so entrenched in their beliefs that they have forgotten that part of just being good to each other, Yeah. I know it's there. I told the story about those two guys over in Evansville that helped me, two retired coal truck drivers who helped me out of a situation where that seatbelt had wrapped around this chair and I couldn't get, and I'm over it. It wasn't anything major, but those two guys took time out of their day. It was hot. They crawled up in the back. It took all three of us to get this figured out. And if without them, I may still be there. I'm joking, of course,
right.
But that day would have been a lot. But they took time out of their day to help. And that's still where we've got to be as a country. That's where we got to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm a little bit of yesterday reminded me of that, of how important it is to have that, so good reminder. Good reminder. It's been another episode of Law Lite, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry. That's fwhlegal.com. We have offices, just so everybody knows, located in Owensboro, Kentucky. Brand new, spanking new. You went there. And
it's very nice.
Bowling Green, Kentucky. We have an office in Hartford, Kentucky. We have an office in Calhoun, Kentucky. We have an office in Evansville, Indiana, and now in Franklin, Tennessee. So, good times.
Yeah.
Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for listening.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!